And what you think?
Wait, what's the consensus on that?
I feel like nigga is a word between. I don't even think Africans should really be saying. Like, if an African called me my nigga, I'm like, but are you?
It's a Black American thing.
I feel like it's a Black American thing.
It's a Black American thing.
From African slaves. Like,
I get it.
Now, maybe, like, okay, boom, because it was the African slave trade going on. It was, like, also in Haiti, and it was in a couple of islands. So they can say it, too, because we all a part of that same...
So...
I feel like nigga is a word representative
So
of
Haiti...
that experience.
So Haiti and Dominican Republic are the same island. It's the island of Hispania, but it's cut in half. So it's a border on the island, and the smaller half of the island is Haiti, and the other half of the island is Dominican. But you would never know the difference if you seen him. Like, my cousin looked like J. Cole. He got dreads and is tall with tattoos and looked like J. Cole. But then when he started talking, you'd be like, oh, yeah, you're not from here because of his accent. So there's something like there's people that you'll see and you'd be like, that's a black dude. And then when he started talking, you like, that's not a black dude. I don't know what. Like, so that's why I'm trying to say, like, going up north to like New York and stuff like that, it's so normal. Like with my friends, because they all live in the same hoods. That's why if you think about Jay-Z, his best friend Tata, Dominican. A$AP Ferg always talking about Dominicans. Like there's a lot of A$AP Rocky. There's a lot of rappers that mention Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, like Fat Joe and Big Pun. But that's because it's like it's all intertwined in the same. But in Middle America, there's no Dominicans or Puerto Ricans. There's only Mexicans. So that's why when you're Hispanic and you say it, and
they put everybody in that Spanish.
Yeah, hell yeah,
that
they think you're
box.
Mexican, and then you be like, nah, bro, I'm Dominican, and they don't even. A lot of them don't even know what Dominicans is. I met a kid when I went to college that was like, and he was from Idaho or some state like that. He played baseball, and I was like, yeah. He's like, what you mixed with? That's some Puerto Rican Dominican. He's like, I thought you was Hawaiian, bro. I was like.
On some sumo shit?
Yeah. So I was small at that time too, but I had like, my hair was a little longer. I was like, Hawaiian for real? And he was like, yeah. And then he was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what a Dominican is. He's like, I've heard of Puerto Ricans, but I don't know what a Dominican is. I was like, for real? And it's so common. You know what I'm saying? To us, it's so common, but to them, they was like, yeah, we know Mexicans, whites, blacks.
In the subgroup, identify the minorities between their subgroups more heavily than people outside of the subgroups. Because like white people might look at black people, them as black people. Like, but we looking at it like, no, that nigga Dominican, he African.
Yeah.
He Jamaican.
Yeah.
But we like do the distinguishes. But
and Africans get mad. Africans get mad when you call them black.
Oh yeah, they don't want to be Black American. Like, no, we African,
get
bro.
So mad, bro. I learned that when I went to Philly. I went to college in Philly, like right outside of Philly. But I used to go to Philly with my roommate, and he was from Africa, and he was like, bro, whatever you do, don't say nigga to any African dude that I talk to, because they literally will get, it's offensive to them. Like, they get mad. And I'm like, why? They're black in America. They're gonna be Black American. Like, there's nothing. No, they're like, bro, no, they're African, bro. They're from Africa and they're African, and they'll tell you in a heartbeat, I'm African.
And that go back to like we were saying earlier, just like being an immigrant. It's like a certain thing that all immigrants have, like a certain vibe. Like, no matter where you're from. Like, if you weren't born here, or even if your parents were born somewhere else, you're a first like descendant, first generation. Like, you got a kind of different outlook on the world.
For sure.
What's some like what's some just like big things in like just being Dominican that's part of y'all culture? Like, I guess, and Puerto Rican. You got
I mean, food. That's for both of them, for both sides. Like, food's a big thing. That's what Dominicans literally are like. I ain't gonna say we known for, but a lot of rappers, that's what they talk about. Because, you know, like the little bodegas and stuff like that in New York, it's typically a Dominican or a Puerto Rican dude. It's funny because up here we got 7-Elevens and it's always an Indian dude, like always. But in like upper, like Philly up there, it's always a Dominican dude, Puerto Rican dude. So it's like the food is part of the culture. And then, of course, the women. Like, that's another part that's just like stands out. Outside of that, I mean, it depends on what part from where you're from. Like, what part of different parts of the island on both sides are known for different things.
Do people cross over a lot? Like, go between?
Like in Dominican Republic?
Yeah, like to Haiti and shit like that.
Sometimes the people from Haiti
Or like, is it a strict border?
No, yeah. It's a super strict border, and they kind of don't like each other for real.
Okay.
Like Haitians and Dominicans really don't get along, like on the island itself. So yeah, like there's people who do cross over, but it's not. They're two different. They're still two different countries, so to speak. Like, so you know what I'm saying? So it's like two different parts. So there is tension. It's always been like that though, forever. But you know,
it's just all like, you know, we all got our fucking own identities. Everybody wants their culture to be identified, to be respected. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And now and now it's like that identities have become even more than like where you're from or like what your religion is. Now it's like we find these different identities, or like what maybe like what your passions is. I'm a basketball player. I'm an artist, or like
right. Facts.
With now we got with gender roles. Like it's like I feel like it's like that's kind of what I don't like. I feel like we're creating so many different labels for ourselves, and like and that's kind of like dividing us.
No,
at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying?
100%. And I feel like that's one thing that going into artistry that I was like trying to get away from, because it's different things. Like I grew up in a very like split household, and what I mean by that is like my dad was on the right side of the law, making sure you're a citizen, you abide by the laws. Like, don't do nothing crazy. Like, if someone hits you, defend yourself back, but don't go looking for trouble. Then my brother, on the other hand, was like in the streets. You know what I'm saying? He did everything in the streets. So it's like he lived by a different code.
He's older than you?
Yeah, we're 10 years apart. So me seeing how my brother was moving, but then how my dad was moving, because we're 10 years apart, you figure when I was 8, he was 18. It was different, you know, seeing those two different sides, and then going to New York, living in Virginia, where it's like, you know how it is. It's like a suburb, but it's a hood everywhere, but it's suburb. But then going to New York, it's like hoods. Like when my grandma lived, it was 30 people in front of the building.
So you were born here though?
Yeah. There was 30, but I went to New York like every summer. So it'd be like 30 people in front of the building, and you got to walk through all that. Hallway smell like piss, elevator don't work. Like seeing that, I'm like, nah, this is a hood. Like this is a real, you know what I'm saying? Like seeing crackheads walk around, talking to you, like trying to ask you for $1, all crazy, smelling all weird. Like I've seen two different sides. So growing up, that's why I sided with Pharrell. It was weird because like I was into like the ice creams and the skating, but I also hooped, and I also was like part of a different crowd. You know what I'm saying? But that I was a walking, how do I explain it? Like, I was one of the persons that was walking as I don't want to be labeled, because I'm not a skater. I'm not like the skater kids, and I'm in the streets all day. But I'm not necessarily a hood dude either, because I go there and I hoop and I play around. But like when it came to like hand to hand and transactions and all of that stuff, I'm like, I was out of that growing up, like in high school. It was like I was around it, but I won't of it. So that was one of the things that kind of struggled, because when I would go from place to place or school to school, people would be like, oh, you dress like a white boy. You know what I'm saying? But you don't talk like a white boy. So it kind of always was like, it's weird, because you talk like you from the hood, but then you dress like a white boy. And it was just like, why can't I just be myself though? Like, it's not even about dressing one way or talking one way. Why can't I just be me? Which is kind of like how people are today. People dress how they dress and talk the way that they talk, and it's like you'll see it. It's more common, but back then, I can always see like everyone just wants to put a label on you, and it's weird. I think people do it to feel comfortable. Yeah, you know, like it's like trying a new food that you've never tried before. Like say, I don't know if you ever ate it, but say like you ate like turtle or tortoise or something like that.
I ain't never ate.
Me neither. Me neither. But you know, people be like, "Yo, what's it taste like?" And then he'd be like, I mean, it tastes like tortoise. You know what I'm saying? But people would be like, it's kind of like, it's like chicken, but the texture is like, you know, kind of like beef. And it's like, you want to label it so you kind of know, instead of just being like, bro, just try it yourself.
People talk about meat too, side note, like, honestly, what meat really tastes good without the seasoning? It's all in the...
Exactly.
It's all in the seasoning.
That's a fact.
But I don't think I'm trying all that, like all those different fucking seafoods and shit.
Oh, yeah, no.
You in seafood?
Nah, I'm dead on that.
But even like, but just like, it's like being yourself. I feel like even now, it's like, I feel like it's almost become a fad to like back in the day, like the people you were talking about, like I feel like I was one of those people too. Like I felt like I was multiple things. Right. I never wanted it to be like one thing. So it's like, and then now it's like, I don't know, it's almost like it's a trend to be like weird. Or it's
Right,
like it's like
exactly.
people like it's like trendy to do the opposite shit. It's like, but we not really doing shit for trends. I don't know.
No, no, 100%. You're not doing it for the trends, but it's like you like it. For instance, like you got gauges in your ear. I had gauges too. I went all the way up to like 00, and then I took them out. But I had gauges in my ear early, and people was like, people don't really like who hang around the people you do. They don't have gauges. And then like T-Pain came out.
Well, he got gauges, right?
T-Pain had gauges that were diamond, and then it started to be.
I used to have them shit.
Yeah, and then everybody just started to like. It was just a trend. So then everybody was like, same thing with like skinny jeans and colored skinny jeans. Because I never was the dude that dressed too big. I was already big, so I didn't like wearing like younger. I didn't like wearing bigger clothes because I didn't get small until I was in college, and then I'm getting big again. So that's a whole nother conversation. But like, I got like a stomach disorder. It's a whole nother conversation. But it's like I never really liked dressing like that anyway because I like the Kanyes and the Pharrells and people like that. They weren't dressing like that.
And just being a kid, bro, like figuring out who the fuck
out.
you are. Yeah.
But there was a lot of people that used to clown me for that and be like, what are you wearing? It's like, bro, these 501 Levi like shrink to fits, bro. Like this is fire. Nah. And then like literally one summer would pass and you would come to school the next year and everybody would be wearing it.
Yeah.
And then I'll be on to something different already, and people will be like, I'm like, yo, last year you was clowning me for these jeans, talking about they too tight and they too this, and now everybody got them on. Oh yeah, you know, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, bro. Like, y'all waited for the culture to tell you it was cool. Just be yourself. Like, there's no stamps you can put on that.
Yeah. So you said you're going to New York in the summer. You said your grandma was out there?
Yeah, they still out there. All my peoples. I'm the only. My mom and my dad and my brother are the only people in Virginia.
Really?
All my family's in New York.
So what about like? Did you start making music over here or over there?
Nah, I started making music over here. So my brother used to freestyle. Okay. He used to like rap battle people. Yeah. And when he was like 19, 20, he was in it to where like he was rap battling people that were like signed to like Rockefeller and stuff and like really making he was making music too, making his waves, but he was still in the streets. So it's like the street battle versus rap. And, you know, at the end of the day, the streets ended up getting the best, the better of him at that moment in time. And he chose to stay in the streets, but we would always rap. He would always rap to me. And it'd be like, you know, when you're a little kid and people start rapping to you, it's like you giggling and it's funny, but it's like embarrassed. You kind of like, stop, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? But then the older I got, the more like, I'm like, yo, rap, 12 or 13, 14. Next thing you know, I was like 13 or 14 and me and him was like actually rapping, like just going back and forth, just rapping all the time. And then I started writing and I would go to school. I always felt like I was going to hoop. Like, I was going to go to the league. I don't know. You know, everybody has that. I'm going to the league, bro. So, like, I really would do rap on the side, but I used to just write raps and then go to school and then, like, battle people in the hallways or, like, just say raps back or, like, freestyle. And everyone was like, bro, you nice. Like, you really got the gift of gab.
Is this, like, middle school or high school?
This is, like, middle school at the lunch table. You know, everybody doing the grind and beat rapping at the lunch table. So, like, from the lunch table to high school. And even in high school, it was like a daily thing every single morning. We'll meet up in the halls and they'd be like, what you got for us today? I'm like, bet, let's go. And I just start rapping. And then, but it was never a thing where I felt like I wanted to make music until my 11th grade year. I transferred schools. And when I transferred schools, I had got cut from the basketball team. And when it pissed me off because I had played at the other two schools I went to, I played. So this coach, it was like, bro, he hustling, he's good. He play AAU with everybody. Like, why did I cut him? And then he was like, well, we cut him because he didn't come to the summer workouts. And I'm like, I was at a different school. What you want me to do?
What high school did you go to?
I went to Denby Baptist, my senior year and my freshman year. Then I went to Woodside and I went to Minchville.
Okay.
Reverse that. I went to Minchville first, then I went to Woodside.
Hold on, is Denby Baptist different than Denby High School?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's a private school. So I went there like strictly just to hoop because that's where all the looks were coming from. So it was like, bro, if I can get into there,
So you was serious because you went to a whole different school to fucking try to pursue it.
Yes, I was like jumping schools strictly just to play basketball. Then I ended up going I went and played college basketball. Like I said, that was when I was in Pennsylvania, and it just didn't work out for me. I tore my ACL. It was, you know what I'm saying? It was bad. But my junior year, I ended up getting cut, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't like basketball as much as I think I do. So that's the year where I was like, maybe I should start rapping. And that was the first year that I had a homie that rapped to this day, my homie DJ. His dad Shout out to Jay Manson, by the way. His dad ended up was like, yo, come, we'll record, and like I had like a little demo I had made. First song I made was called Rockstar Life, and that was the real first, the first wave of when rock music and rap music was like they were morphing together. I forgot what was there was one song.
Was it around the time when Linkin Park and Jay-Z did that?
Nah, it was way after that.
Well, that was actually
trap.
like 06, I think.
Yeah, this was like when trap music and rap music were like starting to form, and there was it was a group from Atlanta that had a big song that had a Party Like a Rock Star. That's
what it was. Party Like a Rock.
Yeah. So it was around that time. So I was like, "Bam, I'm about to ride this wave. Like it's whatever." Like,
wait, in your mind, that was trap music? Wait, what you say that was?
That was trap music and rock music together. That was what I took it as.
I guess it was.
Because it was heavy 808s and guitars. I don't think now it wouldn't fit the criteria of trap music because of the content.
Yeah.
But back then it was like commercial trap. You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
So I had made something there, and I had made that song, and I ended up. That's when I was going by No Name. Before I was Who, I was No Name, and I ended up giving CDs out to everybody.
You went from No Name to Who?
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you. I'll tell you that. So like, I ended up like passing the CDs out. They ended up playing at Woodside. They played the music every morning. They would play their music on the little announcements on the TV, and they ended up playing it one day. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, you lit! Like it's up." And then nothing happened. Like I made that one song, and after that, nothing happened. Like, and I was just like, "All right, bet I'm about to go back to hooping again." And I went and played, like I said, my senior year, and I ended up going to college. And then when I was in college, I was like, man, like, what if this don't work out? Like,
you only made that one song and just put it back down?
I only made that one song, bro. That was it. Yeah. So then I was like, what, when I was in college, bro, I was like, what am I do? Like, what can I do to pass time? Because, basketball was like, it was cool, but then it's that thing like when you finally get out of your city and you think you hot, and then you realize, like, you meet somebody that's, like, crazy. So we had a dude that was on my team that was getting scouted by the 76ers named Latrell Alford. And this dude was, like, 6'4", 48-inch vertical. I'm talking about, like, he could put the ball on the floor in front of the hoop and jump off vert and windmill and dunk. I had never seen nothing like that, bro. I'm like, and he was, like, not even... He was getting scouted by the 76ers, but he was still like the cross between NBA and like overseas talent, which is he ended up going overseas, but he was a super senior too. He was like 23 and I was like 18. So I'm like, bro, what? Like, I got to compete with dudes like this. Like maybe I'm not going to make it to the league, bro.
You was used to the competition at your high school and shit.
Right, and like around the local area, like people but it's like hooping with people over and over again. You start to learn their tricks. You start to know what they're doing. Not everyone takes it 100%. It's not the same as meeting somebody that you have no idea who they are. And everybody on that team was like all Americans in high school, except for me. They were all just like, it was a Christian college, so they were all basically just like, for lack of a better word, like knuckleheads that had low GPAs, but they hooped. So they were trying to get their second. Yeah, they was just trying to get their second chance. Like, that's pretty much what that was. So I was just like, yeah, nah, maybe this not gonna be it for me. So I'm like, I need to do something. So we had a studio in my school. So I was like, maybe I should go and like mess around with the studio. So I started like hanging around with the kids that were making music, and I was like started recording again. And at this time, it was a Christian school, so everybody was making like Christian rap. So I'm like, all right, let me make some Christian rap. I'm about to get on the wave. Like, I'm about to do this. So it was cool, but then I was like, you know what?
That's a good wave to hop on, though.
Nah, it was. So it was a one dude that was in there that was like, he could make beats and he was okay, but he wasn't nowhere near as good as he thought he was. Like, he was cool, he was decent, but like he was the only one with beats. So he had this cocky like God complex. Like, I'm giving y'all the beats and blah blah. You know what I'm saying? I was like, bro, like, respectfully, your beats not even all that crazy. Like, let me relax, because I know
you didn't know about like YouTube beats and shit like that.
None of that. Yeah, none of that at the time. So I was like, let me not take it where I want to take it, because my mind was still like, I'm in Newport News. So I'm like, we could fight right now. But I'm in college, so I'm like, I can't do that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to learn how to make beats myself. Okay. So the first thing I did was like I was looking up equipment and what I needed, and it was a machine. Like it's called Native Instruments makes this beat pad called a machine, and I used to see like No ID and people like that cook up on it. I'm like, I want that. And I looked it up, and it was like 3 bands, and I'm like, nah, bro, that's not it. Like I can't get that. So I do research and I find out, oh, they offer a version of it on the iPad and on the phone that's $4.99, and then you just got to pay for the packs. So I'm like, I could do that. I could do $5. So I ended up buying it, and I just end up like teaching myself how to produce from like, that was like 18, 19. Like,
what year was this?
This was 2011.
I'm trying to see where like technology was at. 11?
This was 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. So all I was doing was like making beats every day, going to sleep, going to play basketball, going to eat, and then coming back. Like I was working out, making beats, going to hoop. That's it. I didn't do nothing else. And when the year was over, I was like, man, I'm not going back. Like I really want to do music. So I ended up staying here. And the only way I can do it was my dad was like, you got to transfer to another college. And I'm like, I ain't even trying to go to school. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, it wasn't for me. So I'm like, all right, I mean, I'm not trying to go to like ODU or Thomas. No, I'm not trying to go to like be on campus. So my dad was like, well, you can go to St. Leo University on base because he worked for the government. And he was like, I went there, so it grandfathers into you going there. So all right, cool. So like,
no ball, just to go there.
Yeah, no ball. It was just literally just like a satellite campus, and it was accelerated. So you would do like, instead of taking like, 12 to 18 credits, you would just take like I think it was like 8 credits or 10 credits, but it would be like in like 4-week increments, 4 to 8 week increments. So it would like really, really quick. Like it was an accelerated program to where like you can get your associate's degree in like, or I mean your bachelor's degree in like 2.5 years instead of doing.
What would you have went for though? What would you have like went for? Like what major?
Well, I just went for liberal. I did my liberal arts because I already did all my first electives from my degree, which was digital media at the time. We learned how to do Photoshop, things like that. I did all those classes the first year when I went to college because I went to that private school, and the private school I was taking college level classes my senior year. So a lot of the credits I already had. So the only thing they made me take was like English, like second level English, which was like Shakespeare books, and it was trash. But like Shakespeare books and stuff like that. But I didn't have to take no math or none of that, no science, any of that. It was just literally just my electives for that. So when I came back, I just took liberal arts, which was just like the remaining science classes and stuff that I was gonna have to take anyway the following year. So I ended up doing that, but like honestly, I really wasn't like even going to school or studying for real. Like I was just enrolled. Like I wasn't.
You finished your 4 years though, or what?
I did. I got my associate's degree, and like I'm like 4 credits away from my bachelor's.
Yeah, you said you had an injury too. Where was that before you left?
That
in the
was
first
before
year?
I left.
Okay.
I tore my ACL.
Okay.
Yeah, I tore my ACL, so I ended up getting surgery on that. So, so I ended up coming back, going to school, and I was like, "That's not what I want to do, bro." So I remember the moment that I made up my mind. It was Tyler the Creator came to the Norva. And he did a show right before he dropped the Wolf album.
Okay.
Like it was like right before Wolf came out. Like it was about to come out, but he played some songs off of it. And I went with my girlfriend at the time, and I went there, and when I walked in, just the atmosphere, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like everything about this is fire. Like this is what I want to do. So after that, I just started like, booking myself for studios, and I produced my own beats, and it was a bunch of trials and tribulations in between. But ever since then, it was just like I just been moving. So I was like 20, like I was like 19. I'll say like 21 when I started doing studios and stuff like that. It was like 21.
Was it in your head like kind of just like how you saw your brother not focus on it 100% and it like slipped away? Where is that part of like what made you go harder?
No,
like...
it didn't, because what ended up happening was, like everybody else, when I was 19, 20 and I came back to the city, I started just hanging around other people. So like as far as like people who were like in the streets, people who were like getting into stuff, and like, like I would hang out with my hooping crowd, and I would hoop, and then I hang out with the dudes and like, whatever hood we was posted in at the time. There was a bunch of them that we would go to, like in between like the up Denby area, like Courthouse, and the Woodview that's no longer, Woodview's like Patriots Landing or something like that. Like Woodview, all that area. Like I would be up there, then I would go downtown and I would hang out at like Doris Miller. I hoop at Doris Miller. Then my homies would stay right down the way in Newsom Park. So I would go over there and I'd hang out. So like I was just all over the place, and it was like at that time I can see how my brother like fell back into it, but at this time my brother was like in and out of jail. So he was not trying to hear none of that. He's like, bro, you need to stay focused. Like, you need to have your head on your shoulders, like, as far as, like, what you want to do. And I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just focus up. And I need to find me a good job so I can pay for the studio. That was, like, my first mindset. Was like, I can't hustle. I'm not going to go out here and sell drugs. Because that wasn't even something I wanted to do. Like, I never was, like, attracted to that in the sense of, like, I'm going to be a dope man. Like, nah, bro. I know how the story ends, so like I didn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention like my aunt, one of my aunts, she used to do that in New York, and she was like, you don't want to do that. Like it's not, it don't end good. It don't end good for you. Like you don't want to do that. So listen to everybody around me. I'm like, all right, cool. Like what am I gonna do? Like I'm gonna get a job, and I ended up just jumping from like call center to call center. That's like the first bag you get when you're younger. Yeah. So I'm just jumping from call center to call center. And I'm just like BS in the call center. Like I got the gift of gab and I could talk to people. So I'm just talking like people through their bills, like just normal. Like I could do this with my eyes closed, bro. Collecting my check, going to the studio and spending it. Collecting my check, going to the studio and spending it.
And rapping on your own beats at the time?
Rapping on my own beats. Like rapping on, rapping on all my own beats. It was like I ended up working my way into working at Verizon, and I was working at Verizon Fios, and that was like bread. Like
their call center?
Yeah, it was bread, bro.
I got Fios now.
Yeah, that bread. I was talking, I'm like $1,100 a week type bread. I was like, every Friday I was getting paid.
That's fire.
I said, bro, I'm rich. That's what I told myself. I'm rich. So I ended up doing something dumb. I went and cashed out on a new car. I had a 26. This was in 2016. I had a 2016 Mustang, in orange. That was my baby. I ended up trading her in though for I got a Camaro now, the 2019 Camaro. But like, that was just one of them days. Like when you first start getting money, you just start running around doing stupid stuff. But in between there though, I did find a plug from my engineer who mixes my stuff now. And he was working at Timberland Studio, which is now the VA Recording Arts or wherever it's called in Virginia Beach.
I feel like I might have heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's an open studio everyone can go to. But at that time it was Thomas Crown, and no one can go there. It was literally me and Young Crazy were the only people that were up there. Larry Live had hooked me up, and I was paying $600 a studio session, and I was doing like two a week, or I do one week and then 3 the next week. Yeah. I was just spending that like money. I ended up like recording a whole album, and I was underneath No Name.
And that's Thank You Come Again, right?
Nah, that's not. That's like before that.
Oh, before that, okay.
Mm-hmm. So I was before that. That was when I was still No Name. That was like 2016, 2006. I think it was like 15 into 16. Like around that time. It might have even been before that. It was a little bit before. It was before I got that Mustang. I know that for sure.
What was that project called?
And it was called Title Unknown.
Okay.
And my name was No Name. And we shot videos for it and everything. And then like, so No Name ended up getting taken by No Name Gypsy, who rapped with Chance the Rapper. She was on the Acid Rap tape. Okay. Then I was like, all right, she's No Name Gypsy. I'm No Name. We can still do it. Then she ended up dropping the Gypsy from her name and ended up just being No Name. Yeah. And she already has a platform. She's tough, right?
I don't remember her.
I tell you, like, the one thing she got famous for, which was like, she was already famous, but she got famous when she came at J. Cole on Twitter about reading books. And they had that big back and forth. That's what a lot of people know her for.
I feel like I would remember that. I don't know.
But, that inspired a whole song that he put out about it when he was talking.
What do you mean? Like, what was she trying to say about reading books?
It was something about uplifting the people, and J. Cole was like, bro, I really don't read books like that. Like, I'm not,
what?
Like, I'm not up to date. He was saying this, like, I'm not up on the history of like people and struggling. Like, I only know bits and pieces, and I don't really read a lot. So you might be better at being an activist than me, was pretty much what he was saying. But she was just like, took offense to it.
So he was being honest.
Yeah, he was being real honest.
I don't remember specifically the moment when I was reading it.
You thought J. Cole was wrong?
Like, I was on her side a
I
little.
Nah, yeah, I mean,
Low-key, I hate using gaslight and stuff like we use it. But he was low-key trying to be like, he was talking to her in his response. He was low-key like, you're being dramatic.
yeah, that's pretty much what he did.
Like,
Yeah.
being dramatic. But
Was she being dramatic though?
She was like serious about. I don't think she was being dramatic. She just expressed her feelings on her platform, which is a big platform.
Yeah, and it was about like activism and things like that. So that's what.
So she came at J. Cole, or he
I mean,
he
yeah,
commented on it?
she definitely came at J. Cole because
Okay,
J. Cole made a song about it, and she ended up responding.
I gotta listen to the song.
Yeah,
I never heard of that.
It was crazy, but anyway, that's beside the point.
Shout out to books, man. Read books.
Shout out books. So we ended up after that. My homie Ant was like,
You gotta change the name, bro.
Like, yeah, we gotta change the name, bro. But I don't know what I want to be because like my name is whack. It's Robert. Ain't nobody want to Rob. There's already a Black Rob. Like,
I feel like if somebody came out Lil Robert, he'd pop.
Maybe, bro.
Okay.
You maybe. So then I was like, he was like, you should just be who? And I'm like, who? He's like, who? And I'm like, who? Like, we keep going back. And he's like, exactly who? WHO question mark. And I'm like, that's hard. And he was like, it still goes with the whole thing of like no name and not having like, like the whole thing about no name was like, I wanted it to just my talent to speak for me and not my name. So, like a lot of things you'll wear, like people even will wear it. If it has a Nike logo on it, people will be like, this is justifiably better than this one product because it has a Nike check and this product has something I don't know. So I was like, I don't want to be like that. I just want to be something that people are like, they hear me and they're like, this is hard, but it's not boxed into like, oh, no name only does this or he only does that. So with Who, it's the same way. I think I played you a couple of records walking in. They were all different records. They're all different vibes of records. And that's kind of like how I've always been. So some days where I might come in and I might want to make some street stuff. I might want to make some stuff for the ladies. I might want to make some Christian stuff. Just depends on my mood. Just depends on, because I'm a human. Yeah. So it's like there might be some days you want to BS. You outside and you like, bro, first person that talked to me, I'm snapping on. Then there's other days where you just extra polite and people might say something to you. You be like, you know what? I ain't even worried about it. Then there's others day where you might just be extremely grateful and you're like, everything is just like grace and grateful. Like I'm thankful you're my friend. I'm thankful for this and I'm thankful for that because you realize you had a realization that none of this is promised. So as an artist, I wanted to be that same way, but I needed a moniker that's going to be like, this will fit because there's certain people. I think Ye kind of is like breaking that barrier, but there's certain people is like they have already a reputation for what they're known for. So we'll take like Lil Durk, for instance. Lil Durk already has something attached to his name where you're like, I kind of know what music I'm going to get from Lil Durk. If Lil Durk come on a song and start preaching to you, you're going to be like,
it's hard to like you think box yourself in.
Yeah, exactly. It's boxed in because you're like, even if it's hard, you're going to be like, because that's not what you want to hear because from Lil Durk, you're already expecting Lil Durk things. You get what I'm saying?
No,
So I was like, I don't want to be like that. So he was like, you should be Who, because that also translates. And then when you tell people your name, which happens all the time, they say it back, but they always say it wrong. So I'm like, yeah, it's Who. They're like, Juice? I'm like, Who? Hoop? Who? I'm like, Who? WHO question mark. They be like, oh, Who? So then they remember me. So it's like it worked for those two situations. So we checked that off the box. And I was like, bro, I've been like real convicted listening to my music lately. Like I got all this cussing in it and like all this wild stuff. And it's like, it's not really a representation of me, like of who I am at heart. And I was like, you know what? I don't even want to drop this album. And my friend's like, bro, you done spent like $10,000, like legitimately just recording it. Then videos and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but it doesn't sit well with my spirit because if I was out and about, like when I was younger, I was super childish, like all the way up to like 20, probably 2021. I was definitely the dick joke guy, the do anything for attention because it's funny, say something outlandish just to see people's faces. Like I was like kind of like Tyler the Creator. That was me. But as I was growing up, I'm like, I don't want to be that because a lot of times people are laughing at me and not laughing with me. And I didn't notice that until I was older. So I'm like, you know what? I'm about to make a change, bro. Like I'm really about to like tap in with my spiritual side. I'm about to tap in with just making sure that I can be a beacon of light for people. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop cussing. And it was like, to this day, I really don't cuss unless it's like I get real upset, and then it's like,
oh wait, you don't cuss in your music?
Nah,
Damn, I didn't even notice that.
That's what I'm saying. People don't even notice it though.
That's fire though. You said what?
Will Smith didn't cuss.
Nah, he didn't. He was
ain't
cold
cuss.
too, but he also didn't write his raps. But shout out to Will Smith though.
Damn, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You know, Get Jiggy With It was written by Nas.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that. Also,
Yeah.
on that note, this is fucking the latest intro of any episode. I forgot to do the intro.
I'm leaving this.
Welcome to the All For a Podcast, man. That was actually, this is a good spot for the intro because you kind of just introduce yourself really well.
Got you.
Man, I'm sitting here with Who, recording artist from Newport News, Virginia, man. We appreciate you guys for tapping in. Yeah, man. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Yeah, this is crazy, man. It's crazy. So this is all leading up to your album. So I was checking like on your Spotify and shit. So you pretty much, you have one project out.
Yeah.
Thank You Come Again, which is kind of funny. We touched on Indians being at 7-Elevens and shit earlier, and your album is called Thank You Come Again.
Thank You Come Again. Yeah.
And then kind of that was 2018, and then
Correct.
Since then you've been just dropping like a bunch of singles.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just saying, what's the idea behind
So
that?
all right. So what ended up happening, right? So we fast forward. I get my life in order. I get everything in order. You know, I tap in with my publicist, Coach Q, Cornell Holder from Medium. He used to be like he was a tour manager for Designer. He helped Designer Blow, mentored Corday, manager for Bia, manager for IDK.
I met Bia. I took a picture with her and fucking she commented on it. Shout out to Bia.
Bia, hey, shout out to Bia, bro. She's always been a real one. Every time I talk to her, even after her glow up, she always like makes time to like even respond to me, like even if I DM or something.
Yeah, she's like my celebrity crush now.
Yo, yeah, Bia, man, she's the one. Shout out to you, Bia. But yeah, he coached me through some stuff. It was like, bro, you got all this content and you're good, but you just need to break it up. As far as kind of like, this is before Russ was doing the one a week, but it was more so of just like he was telling me even back then, like you should just start releasing singles like once or twice a month so people can start, you get a pool of what people want to hear. So after I did that tape with Alex Ginya and my man Ant. And after I did that, I was like, let me go ahead and just start doing these singles because the tape is cool, but the same thing that Russ was saying, what you notice about a tape is people will listen to first like 3 or 4 songs, and that's like being gracious. It's really like the first 2. But like 3 or 4 songs if they like you, but if the project is like 7 songs, it'll take them a while to get to that 7th song just because people's attention span is so short. But
or it's like, yeah, my bad to cut you off too. It's like even like bigger people, like fucking like Donda. Like I've listened to the whole Donda straight through, but when I go back, I'm only probably listening to 3 or 4 songs every time.
Exactly.
So everybody finds them joints they like.
Exactly. So I was like, you know what? Let me just do singles. So then it's kind of like, if I do singles, it's going to help push the momentum. And then people kind of get a taste of like this and that to kind of find out like, you know, what it is that they like. Because you got to build up a demand for people to want an album from you. You get what I'm saying? So
Sure.
I actually have an album that's completely done. It's been finished for a couple months now. I've been shopping around to like different labels. There's different people that's tapped in with me that's in the industry that's heard it. Yeah, I like it. And it's a conceptual album. So it's kind of like a Kendrick, Kanye, J. Cole-ish type of thing where it tells a story start to finish. And it's like 13 tracks. I got a video for it. It's already finished. It's called This Is an Album. And it'll probably be out sometime, hopefully this year, but I'm still trying to work out the kinks of getting the right promotional push on it. But in the meantime, it's funny that you bring up the Thank You Come Again, because I actually have a sequel that no one knows about till now, obviously. That's called Thanks for Coming Back. And that's going to be coming out soon. Probably like another 2 months.
With the same, I'm sorry, who are the 2 guys you made the first one with?
Alex Ginya and Anthony Austin.
Okay. Same people on the second one?
No, so Anthony that's like my right hand man. Alex Ginya is like he doesn't produce anymore. He became an engineer like his father, Serban, and he's been doing like he just did like Nick Jonas and like Maroon 5. Like he's out of here. Like,
is that the Armenian dude you're talking about?
Yeah, that's his son Alex, and he's been doing like he's doing big artists like Black Bear. Like he's mixing crazy records.
Shout out to the Armenians in the game. I didn't know I was out there like that.
Shout out to Alex, but that's still my boy. Like we talk all the time. But it's me, and then I was introduced about 2 years ago, which helped me with majority of my album. A good friend of mine named Galen Smith. So it's me, Galen, and Ant on this one, and then I have some guest appearances on my album and on this tape from other producers that I like. Andrew Hypes, the DJ, the one that DJs. Andrew's on my album. And I have a few other people that's on there.
Yeah.
So But yeah, this one's gonna be a little bit smaller. The last one was like 7 tracks. This one's gonna be 5.
Okay.
So trying to keep that tight niche until the project comes out, of having a tight body of work for people to be like, it's easily digestible for you to listen to 5 songs.
Bro, I think the game is kind of getting back to that, bro. Like, you talking about you want to drop, like, you dropping the conceptual joints, like, thoughtful shit. Like, I feel like we slowly getting back to that. We went through the little era where people only really wanted to hear the strip club music and shit like that. But I think, matter of fact, I really think it was partly with the pandemic, too. Everybody was just in the crib, not really going to the club, not really. So you sit in the crib, you're going to be thinking you might want to listen to some different types of music.
You don't always want to be turned up. And I noticed that, too, is like the pandemic definitely played a role in that, because the average person, if you think about it, they listen to music when they're at the gym. Has to be high energy for the most part.
In the car?
Unless you want to listen to like R&B when you work out. But
who's doing that?
There's some people
they lifting real slow.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. There's some people who do that. And then in the car, which typically if you're on your way to work or you're coming back from work, you either want to unwind or you want to be turned. That's literally like people be drinking coffee in the morning, drinking bangs and energy drinks. Yeah. You listening to hype stuff when you wake up because you want to get your day, you know what I'm saying, good. Outside of that, if you think about like when we were in high school, iPods and things like that were a really big thing. People really don't listen. They don't digest music like they used to. But then when the pandemic came, everything slowed down and it forced people to listen to. Now they're going back to all these older projects or even stuff that they were supposed to listen to. I'm going to listen to that, but never had time. End up going back and they realize like how important it is. And I think the newer artists that started to bubble and pop themselves, like Russ, like Toby, like hell, even Lil Durk and T Grizzly and all of those, the Midwest rappers, like they all had something to say. So then you get people like Tyler that are getting pushed to the forefront, Pusha T's having his crazy wave, like all the newer rappers that are starting to come out. They're not even newer rappers. They're rappers that have been around, but now that content is getting pushed.
No, it's funny when you see somebody that's like working and then you see him like 3-4 years later, right? Everybody talking about him.
Exactly.
It's like, oh shit.
Lil Durk was hot when I was younger. Like the first, like, this ain't what you want and all of that. Like he was hot. Then he kind of went away, but then he came back and he's having like a crazy run. And I think that helps with like what helped. I think was having the dynamic of bringing like Griselda and Freddie Gibbs and all of those type of rappers to the forefront, because now you actually have it feels like rap again, where everything is across the board. It's not all the same. Like you were saying, when we had that one era where like if you ain't had no 808 and no hi-hat in your song and you weren't Kanye, we're not listening to it. And even Kanye had them 808s in there. I don't know if this is an actual like fear people have, but that boy, Top Dog from TDE. Yeah, TDE.
He had posted a tweet the other day. It was something like, if we're not careful, he was like, some is like I feel like we could lose rap.
No, he said it. Yeah,
I
seen it on my Freddie Gibbs said the same thing.
What do you think they mean by that? You think it's actual fear like we're going?
Yeah, so what they mean is the art of rapping, as far as like, so when you break it down, like back in the day, think about like a Jay-Z album, for instance. There was party songs that were like the hits and like the ones that they use, the singles that they used to push the album. But in between, you had what was called like album filler. And all that album filler typically was like real life, like things people were going to, like song cry.
Thought-provoking shit.
Yeah, like, thought-provoking, like stuff like that, like that made you really think. And what ended up happening was, along the way, when people started to go into the trap phase and the phase of the internet and streaming like that, people only were looking to hit a cliche market every single time. And what happens is that cliche market ended up blowing up, which was, what we call trap music today. So inside of that, a lot of those rappers that make that music, they don't write. They go into the studio and they do punch-ins or they do freestyles. There's a lot of younger artists that I work with that are 20, and I'm like, I ain't seen you pick up a pen, your phone, like, oh, nah, I don't write.
They be saying some heat, though.
Yeah, some of them do, but they like, I don't write. So they just go in there and it's like scattered thoughts that just come out. And it's like, sometimes it's cool, but then it's like, you want to hear about stuff that you can relate to, because 90% of the people that's out here are not in the streets like they say they are. They're regular people. They're dealing with regular things. And it's not if it's up, it's stuck. That's not how their life is all the time. They're not blowing money on designer bags. They're living vicariously through those people, but they still need something to feed them and feed their spirit and feed their soul, something that they can feel. You know what I'm saying? So that's why Top Dog is saying those type of things, is like, we don't have rappers that are actually spitting stuff that's like has some substance to it to make you really feel it. And all the ones that do are older, like Freddie Gibbs and Benny the Butcher, and they don't really cater to a crowd for someone who's 19 or 20. They don't know who Freddie Gibbs is at 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Unless someone that's older than them. But then you think about like being around in the early 2000s and being like a 90s baby, and even the 2000s baby, even someone who was born in 2000, there was like still content that they were around, like Biggie and Pac and Jay and all of those people, that going into the era that it's in now of like, you know, the more trappier music, they still know what conscious rap and like storytelling, and they still know what that is. They still know what that's about. So I think what he's saying is like, we'll lose that eventually if someone isn't upholding it. If someone isn't the person that's like, because we know we're going to get something conscious from Cole and Kendrick and Drake, but there's certain rappers that drop albums every 2 months. And it's not even albums. They literally just taking like 15 singles and putting it on one playlist and saying, this is an album. And it's like, it's not. It's just 15 different songs.
It's like also like, yeah, like the art of MCing.
Yes.
It's like, maybe we forgot there's a difference between a fucking MC and a rapper. Somebody who just like, you know, making songs, making hits, making like, or like also I feel like it's a lot of people that are just making shit that sounds literally exactly like something else, and it's like strategic. It's like the Spotify playlist. Yeah. Like if you want to be on this playlist, you want to make shit that sounds like that. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, that's like, it's like kind of for the money. It's also like, yeah, it might be a good song, but it's like we're hearing the same song over and over again.
That's it.
We want something different, and then also it's like, being an MC is just like, it goes past the music. It's like who you are, bro. It's like your fucking your beliefs, your ideas. Like, I really fuck with like probably my favorite MC is KRS-One. He either just dropped a new album or he's about to drop it. Mm-hmm. It's called I Am a MC RU1 too. Actually, that's what it's called.
That's fire.
But yeah, bro, like just. I'm glad he's like, you talking about like kind of like the older people still.
Yeah.
I'm glad we still have them at least right now. So we have somebody to look to.
A lot of them are catching second waves. Like Nas caught his second wave. I think Nas is making the best music of his life. Yeah. I don't care. Like Illmatic will forever be his best album, but like I think anything after Illmatic, you can't tell me that the stuff he's doing with Hit Boy right now is not the best stuff he's doing in his life. Like Jay, of course, is always on his like Jay Push. Like all of those artists are catching a second wave. But the reason why they're catching a second wave is because there's it's still an empty market in what they're doing.
I think also the game is seeing that. Pretty much you can see the result of the type of music that's popping by how long people are listening to that music. So right now, a lot of hits are coming out. A lot of people are doing a lot of numbers, making a lot of money, but nobody's listening to their music like a year later to that song, or like don't even get me saying 3 to 5 years later. Like we listen to songs from like 20 years ago. Why? Because ultimately, when you make a creative song, an original song, you can't get that feeling anywhere else. Nope. So if you like that feeling, you got to go back there.
Yep.
Now everybody makes a song with the same feeling. You know what I'm saying? So you feel the same, listen to the whole playlist.
And it's not even, and I don't even think it's like actually even feeling. I think people is just like, I know this is what people want to hear. Yeah. And a lot of times it's what they want to hear. And it's funny because I go in the studio and I'm like, yo, I don't try to go and do like the opposite of what everyone's doing, because like I said, I don't force it, but it's kind of just wherever I go. But a lot of times I'm like making stuff and people is like, bro, that's crazy how you bring the elements of what you like out of the music now, but you still keep the elements of what you like out of the other like older music you listen to and kind of morph it. But like you always rap and you always got something to say. And I'm like, yeah, because I feel like the vessel that's missing right now is having those rappers that actually stand for something, that actually want to like get a message across and be. Sometimes it's like just being the voice for people who can't speak. And there's so many people who be like, bro, I'm going through a situation, and that one song you made, such and such, that junk spoke exactly to what I was going to, like, to the T. Like, I almost feel like me and you are the same people. And it's like, that's what people need to hear and people like to hear. And I'm not knocking, because there's stuff for everything. Like, if I go to a club, like, I'm not trying to hear no conscious stuff. Like, just, I want to hear what's rocking, you know what I'm saying? Because it's the time and the place. But to bombard yourself with that 24/7, I don't think that's okay. Because anything in excess is bad for you.
It's like, that's like the junk food. Like we all go, we gonna eat, you know what I'm saying, fast food, we gonna eat chips, we gonna eat chocolate every now and then. But that can't be your whole diet.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Anything will kill you in excess. Even things that are good for you, if you have too much of it, it'll kill you. Even water, for instance.
Oh yeah.
You drink too much water, you could drown yourself. I didn't know that. I learned that when I was older.
I think you only need like a little bit of water to drown. I think I don't know the exact measurement, but it's like a little ass bit.
I was like, bro, you could drink like too much water and drown yourself. Yeah. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's crazy. But it's like even things that are good for you, too much of it. So it's like I feel like there just needs to be a balance, and that's what the older rappers or MCs, that's what they had that I feel like we're missing. Jay-Z had them club hits that was going 6 months to a year strong. Because it didn't sound like anything else that was on the album. But then he also had the stuff on the album that's like timeless, to where like you remember when you heard it, what you felt like, what it felt like outside, where you was at. Yeah. Like it vividly stamps that memory in your head. Yeah. And I feel like that's what we're missing. And it's crazy too, because there's a lot of good music out here, even but like bigger artists that are like you said, is here and then gone.
Yeah, I gotta say, I appreciate all of the OGs in hip hop that are actually giving a fuck about us and about the game, because they a lot of these guys, their fucking legacies are already set in stone. They're good. They don't gotta come out and try to help the younger generation. Like they don't have to be the like they're still setting the examples for us. So I gotta say I appreciate that on that note. And I was gonna say too, so the Who and Friends show.
Yes.
How did that come about? You know what I'm saying? You said you're throwing another one too. I don't know have you announced that already?
I haven't announced it.
Okay, maybe he might not be throwing another one.
No. We good. I'm announcing announcements. It's mad announcements coming on this on the show. Who and Homies came along, bro, because I really wanted to throw a show for my birthday. Not only for my birthday, but because I wanted to do a show where like somebody cared. And it's no knock to anyone that's out here, but I felt like it wasn't to the level of what a show should be. I feel like a lot of shows that especially in our area, the artistry part of the show is left out, and it's kind of just like you either get a show with a bunch of artists booked where it's like too many, like 20 artists on one bill, and you're like, it's cool, but somebody's gonna get missed, or at a certain point somebody that's pulling up is like, all right, cool, I don't know these people, and they're gonna leave. You know what I'm saying? And then we have other shows where it's like a small, intimate setting, and there is a good artist on the bills, but then like the sound system may be wonky, or they didn't promote the show right, or maybe they didn't even do a show set for what they were doing. They were just rapping over their songs. So I'm like, I travel a lot, so I'm like, I done been to these places and seen these shows. Me and Masego, I've known him since like 4th grade. So me and Masego, we go like way back. I always go, like I performed with him at Art Basel this year in December. Like me and him did like a performance together.
Last year.
Yeah, this last year that just passed. But even that, I've been around him pretty much like majority of his career. And like when he started to get bigger and get more recognition, I would go to those shows and like I would see how he performed. Like when he was on tour with GoldLink, then I would go to like New York, and then I would go to a show in New York, and even mid-level artists, I'm seeing how they perform. So I'm like, all right, like you gotta treat yourself like that before you become that. So I come back to the 7-5 and I'm like, these shows are, they not hitting, bro. Like they really not. So, and it's like, I want to do something that's like the business is right, the image is right, the sound is right, and like really care about the details. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself and book myself. And you know what I'm saying? I felt like, one, I wasn't getting the opportunities, and I was getting, I don't want to say looked over, because it's not even that. It's just, there's so many artists, and there's so many, you find out like, oh yeah, that's such and such's homie that grew up with him, and that's his cousin. So like a lot of shows get filled up off of just the strength of people knowing each other, not even the strength of like who's better or who's not. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that was one thing where I'm like, I'm not doing enough shows. Then the second thing was like, I want to do a show and show people like what a real rollout looks like and like how to actually promote your show for 30 days and get like actually have like elements of what a real show feels like when you go other places.
Like y'all really did have that. That was like the best rollout.
I appreciate
even down
it,
to like the artwork, all that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like we really took our time with it and just was like, you know, we want to give them something. I want to be able to get the keys to give to people to show them like, bro, if you just do this, it's not that hard. You just do what I did, then your show is going to be more successful. It's going to be a better vibe for like people to come together. They're going to want to come together. They're going to be excited. And there was like some artists that were on that bill, like my man Jiggy and Tyler, that I felt like weren't being heard. I think they were doing, you get caught in the chitlin circuit around here where people start doing the same venues over and over again. Yeah. I'm like, nah, bro, like I need to be heard. So
no, Tyler's fire too.
Tyler's crazy.
I got hip to both of y'all, my bad cutting you off, at Boris' shoot that day.
Oh yeah.
So I went back and checked both of y'all.
Tyler's
like, okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I ended up I ended up putting them on the bill, and like now I think both of them they're doing a show at Slow Dive this month or next month. I think they both got like 2 or 3 shows that they've been booked for since then. And I'm not saying that that's why they did, but I feel like that put a lot of spotlight on them. Yeah. It gave them content. It gave them like momentum. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like really do that. Give a platform for my homies who I like genuinely care about, who I feel like are super talented, and get them a spot to come and like actually turn up and have a good show. And it doesn't feel like something that was done last minute. Yeah. It doesn't feel like something that was like not properly prepared for.
And I feel like a great lesson there too is like you like took it in your own hands.
I had
you didn't
to,
wait
bro.
for somebody to come and make that shit happen. Like,
I had to, bro, because like the thing is like my goal is by the end of the year to be doing shows at like the Norva, like national, like that type of capacity, 1,000, 1,200 people. Yeah. And if I can't entertain people in front of 200 people or 300 people, then how do I expect for me to be able, someone to come along and say, I know you've only did these shows with 20 or 50 people max. You can still come and do, you know, like we gonna put you on, like they're not gonna do that. So, and I think the first time I realized that it was different was I opened up for Lil Baby in DC at Club Bliss, like 2018, I think, 18 or 19. It was right after the Thank You Come Again.
You performing shit off of that?
Yeah, okay. I performed stuff off of that, and it was a different vibe. It was crazy. It was a whole different vibe because it was a club full of people. It was like 600 people in there. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. So it was kind of like I really had to perform and really go out. And that was the first time when like I got off stage and people were like dapping me up, like, yeah, you crazy, bro. Like, you really hard. Like people that didn't know me, people who I didn't even think were listening because of the way they was looking at me. It was just like, they were like paying attention, but it was more so like, man, this dude spaced out. Like he drunk. Like he not even listening. And then I get down there, they dap me up. Man, I really, you know, like the story about your brother, bro. I'm going through that now too. Like it's relatable. Like, so I was like, you know what? There's levels to this, and you have to operate on the highest level. So like mixes and cover arts and all of those things are important to me because it's important to the big artists. So you got to treat yourself like that first. So that was the whole goal behind the show, is just to show that we can have nice shows and we can do things on a bigger scale for people to come through. And I think also on that note, I think Naya Nell does a good job with EDL Fest doing that. That's why she was one of my sponsors, because I've seen her take that jump from the mud to like where it is.
They've been kind of going strong now for like 4 or 5 years, right? Or something
crazy, yeah. Like and she really does it big. Like she really like that was one of the motivations. Like she's throwing a festival. I'm not throwing a festival. I just want to throw a show. So if she could throw a festival, I know I could probably throw a show. So it's like, because that's a lot of work to throw a festival. So I'm like,
I imagine. I threw like a couple events, you know what I'm saying? So I can imagine. Yeah.
It's a lot of work, bro. So I'm just like, and that's another thing I'm glad I got to see was the work aspect of it, because I didn't know that was all of that was in it.
I love it, man. I love it.
But moving on to the Who Homies. Yeah, we're doing another one in DC. I got the confirmation on Songbird, which is a 200 cap venue. But it's a very like historic venue in DC. Like it's very historic. All the bigger artists that came from that area all started off like mid tier. Yeah. They all go there. So it'd be kind of like how we have the Norva. It's kind of like that, but just smaller. But it's that level of notoriety of like it's like the Norva of that area.
Is there a date for that?
Huh?
Is there a date for that?
That's July 9th.
July 9th.
Yeah,
Okay.
July 9th.
You heard, they heard it here first?
They hit it first. Heard it here first.
Come on.
July 9th. So then, after Songbird, I got some more tricks up the sleeve that I don't want to talk about until I get it like solidified. But Songbird's already solidified, and that's gonna be a good look. We're gonna do the same thing that we did here in the 7.5. We're gonna do the rollout, except with some DC artists that I'll announce later to the date. But we're gonna do the rollout with some DC artists, and it's gonna be the same vibe that we did on the 7.5, and trying to build a pipeline of connecting everybody, you know, and bringing spotlight to DC artists in the 7.5 for people who follow me, and for people who follow them, they're put on to me, in the DC area. So I'm just trying to link those things, and I feel like it's a good time. I've been traveling a lot, so I'm just trying to touch every major market that I've been able to touch over the last 2 years, building networking, things like that.
Yeah. Hell yeah, bro. I love it. We about an hour in. I feel like that might be a fire spot to leave him at.
Fire.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta say, shout out to Slow Dive too, the only club I ever seen that sells Takis.
Fire.
For that reason alone, y'all got the spot, the number one
Slow
spot.
Dive's a vibe.
Hell yeah, bro. Do you want to lead the people or anything else?
Nah, man. New music coming soon, like we talked about. I got a project coming. Thank you for coming back. Some more merch. I'm cycling my merch every like week or two, so new merch coming, and stay tuned, man. A lot of big news that I haven't talked on, I haven't spoke about publicly because I'm waiting for the time when the time is right. But definitely some things that are in the works. So
hell yeah. And what was the venue called? That's
Songbird
on July 9th.
July 9th, Songbird. I think the doors open at 7 p.m. But you'll see it. Yeah. Trust me, you're going to see it because we're going to promote the hell out of that show.
When they drop the links, get a ticket. I'm definitely sliding to that.
Yeah. Oh, tickets are only $15 too.
So, the tickets available already for that?
Nah, not yet.
Okay.
They will be, but the tickets are only going to be $15. And there's going to be some limited edition merch that I'm going to actually have at the show. This time I couldn't have it because of logistic reasons, but I'm going to have it at that show, at that venue, with stuff that you can only get in DC for that venue. Won't be able to get it. I might put it online for maybe a day, but that's it. So I'm starting to build that culture around coming to the shows. You never know what you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like it's a thank you, too, for the people that showed up.
We back outside, man.
Exactly.
We back outside. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, man. I appreciate you for sliding, bro.
For sure.
All bros links will be in the description. And like I always say, fuck with an artist from the 757. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
For sure.
Hell yeah, bro.